This year, the theme of the World Day Against Child Labour puts the focus on hazardous work. So children who are engaged in hazardous work or hazardous child labour. And there are 71 million children who are engaged in hazardous work, in hazardous child labour in the world. There are some tasks that just by the nature of the task itself are highly hazardous. Spraying pesticides, for example. Then there are other tasks that by the circumstances in which they are undertaken could be hazardous. So if a child is maybe working without any supervision far away from the home place, or if the work is carried out for many hours under the sun, or if a girl has to walk a long distance to undertake this work, so that by the circumstances can also be hazardous situations. So awareness raising is important, but then there are also specific alternatives that we can promote. For example, if we promote safe agricultural practices, good agricultural practices, for example, integrated pest management that does not make use of toxic agrochemicals, that is of course also an area where we can make a large difference. The root cause of child labor is household poverty. So what we can do as agricultural stakeholders and in general various organizations can do and governments is to work on poverty reduction so that parents have a better income so they can afford to send their children to school. Also, we should make sure that parents, guardians perceive the curricula and the quality of education as good enough to send their girls and boys into school, that they learn relevant skills for their specific livelihoods so that there are more incentives. Or school feeding programs, social protection programs can make a difference in ensuring that child labor is reduced and therefore also hazardous child labor. FAO works at different levels to address hazardous work that is undertaken by children. We have developed materials like visual guides for illiterate groups that can be used to sensitize on specific occupational safety health situations. We have e-learning courses that pick up this topic and that is targeted to specific groups. While it seems quite clear that if children are trapped in child labor instead of going to school, that also their future will be largely affected. They will not be the educated farmer of tomorrow who could innovate agriculture, who could bring solutions to climate change situations, to other challenges that rural communities are facing. And agriculture needs innovation and sustainability in the long run. So having children trapped in child labor means that from a life cycle perspective, these children will be trapped in poverty very likely themselves. But also at the larger level of the community, it will also mean that the vicious cycle of child labor and poverty will continue at the community level. So it will bring about poverty. Zero hunger will not be achieved without addressing all child labor.